We've used Assembla, we've used Jira, we've used Basecamp, we've used, you name any of them, we've used them.
Certainly there's, it's new, it's hot, it's exciting. That's definitely a thing.
What causes this application sprawl, so to speak?
Maybe a new program that came out just solves your problem really well, or solves a particular problem that you have really well.
So today we're going to be talking about a topic, basically tech and tools that you kind of use within tech. So applications, things of that sort, and how to effectively use apps within your business. So what are some of the apps that we currently, Andrew, are using here at Bixley to help us be successful as a business?
There's so many.
There's so many. It's a myriad of them.
Just off the top of my head, we use Slack all the time. Jira, Trello, Sentry, Bamboo for HR. We have password managers. There's a lot of them.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I think most of those people are probably aware, but just to clarify, like, what is Slack utilized for mostly, and Jira?
So we use Slack for all of our inter-office chat and some of our chatting with clients. We use Google Meet a lot to do video conferencing with clients. We use Sentry to report on bugs and detect bugs in clients, just applications that are out in the wild. We use Bamboo as our HR program. We have a password manager. Yeah, there's a lot of different functions. We use a lot of software apps.
What's your thought kind of on consistently sticking with a particular suite of tools versus kind of adapting more to the client's needs and what they're using? What are your thoughts on that?
Most clients don't have a strong opinion about tools, I found. There are some where, maybe they've been doing programming in-house, they have their own development team, and we're, and of 8 developers, and they're contracting with 2 of our developers, and they don't want to completely switch their tool. That makes sense. That's a compelling case to me. But in many cases, that's not the scenario. They just don't have something or don't use anything consistently, kind of thing. So we help show them best practices.
Yeah. So for us in particular, and back to what I was mentioning when I was doing project management and businesses in general and how applications work well within the business, your apps that you're using and your programs that you're using should obviously support you as the company and being able to reach the goal of what you're trying to do for your customer or the product you're selling, so on and so forth. And we've changed a few times over the years with project management specifically. We've used our own in-house track instance, like back in the day.
One that you guys wrote?
One that we literally wrote, because you could, at the time, you literally had to self-host track. Now they have like a cloud-based track version, but specifically, like, we wrote it, hosted it ourselves. We've used Assembla, we've used Jira, we've used Basecamp, we've used, name any of them, we've used them over the years. And we found that there was a bit of a pivot shift. Every time a new customer came in, they would just come in with the new hot tool. And we'd be like, oh, let's use that.
The new hotness?
Yeah, the new hotness. Let's use that. And I would argue that that's not the best interest of your business to just go with the hotness, as we will call it, whenever it comes in. You do want to ensure that it is helping you reach the need of your client, if you're like us in like a service style industry, or pushing your product forward if, of course, you're doing something more e-commerce and you have that. And figuring out how the app can best support what you're trying to sell or who you're trying to provide for is extremely important. And you need to have that compelling reason of why you change it. Without a compelling reason, it just doesn't make sense to just go with the hotness over and over and over. So why do you think, so I'm not obviously doing all the talking, why do you think customers do jump on board with new applications or the changing winds of time? Like, what causes this application sprawl, so to speak?
Certainly there's, it's new, it's hot, it's exciting. That's definitely a thing. Another one is just, maybe they've got a great free tier. I know, like Asana in the past, it's like, wow, how is this free? Because it did so much. It was like very just cute and pleasant to use. It was very affordable. And so, maybe they've got a great free tier. But as you grow, is it still going to be free? Probably not. So it's kind of short-sighted to get locked into that. Maybe a new program that came out just solves your problem really well, or solves a particular problem that you have really well. And so you kind of gravitate towards that. Any number of reasons, but there's always something that's attractive about the new thing. And it's usually largely because it's new and people want to try it out.
People will try it out.
And it's so easy to sign up for, right?
Yeah.
Like the sign up's free, you just kind of go in there. And so they do a good job of making it very low friction in most cases.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that, not that having, free tools is a bad thing, and that could actually be a pivot and a drive for your company. You're a new business starting out, and that could be a big decision making. It's literally budget. We can't afford from a budget standpoint to just go pay for the large enterprise level suite of this communication tool and this management tool and this hosting tool and so on and so forth. So you do actually base your company around what's free and still has the tools that I need. And in that way, that actually is products and apps supporting your business model. But as you grow over time, and one thing that we found as we were growing over time, we moved out of that free tier level, and that didn't have to necessarily be the driving decision anymore. And so we had to be cognizant of that. But if a business isn't, they may find themselves trying to provide enterprise level business with non-enterprise level tools.
The tools can't really support them at that level.
Yeah. So I'm touching on it already, but what are some of the smart decisions about tech and like what you should do to kind of keep certain tools in place or just get rid of tools? Like, what are some of your thoughts on those decisions that go into why or why not you would use a particular tool?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to to audit the tools that you're using at least annually. To look at your bank statement, see what all your subscriptions are. Who's using this tool, how often are they really using it, and really look for opportunities to consolidate, and also what tools are being used effectively. If there's one or two people using something, but it's not of that great of value, it's probably time to move them over. So I would really look at. I mean, obviously cost is a factor, but what tools are allowing you to effectively communicate with your customers in that manner, and really just gravitate towards those tools and start to. I mean, requiring people to change is always uncomfortable. We even see that with Mac versus Linux versus Windows and all those things. But having people sprawled out across a bunch of different technologies, it ultimately makes a lot more overhead and work, especially for sysadmins. So it's worth it to try to consolidate regularly.
Yeah. There's obviously a bunch of great out-of-the-box tools, solutions, apps that can help your business, but at some point you might actually find your business hitting that point where there really isn't an out-of-the-box solution anymore. There might be some sort of a custom tool that you need to actually build to keep productivity going along. How does that come into play? What do you think kind of leads towards that decision?
Yeah, so a big indicator of that is that you need a custom solution is when you're essentially kludging together all these different solutions. So maybe you're using, Google Docs for this part of it, and then you're using Gmail for that part, and then you're using, I don't know, but just a bunch of different solutions that you've sort of pieced together to ultimately solve this problem. But it's not streamlined. It's very disconnected. It's hard to manage, and but you're solving a real problem that matters. And so at that point, it's really time to look at something custom that would, I can keep throwing this out, a perfect fit solution. Something that doesn't 70% solve your problem. It exactly solves your problem and allows you to do it efficiently in a very streamlined manner. And also that, you've got the budget to invest into something like that, the time and the budget, because it is going to be a significant investment. But once you're solving that problem well, and that problem's real, and also that there's, revenue behind that, that's a good time to start researching custom solutions.
I think we covered this pretty well.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Bixley Tech Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed our conversation around how to really use your technology in your business to help you be productive, to really help you support your team. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, go ahead and leave those in the comments section down below. In addition, you can find a link to our free custom software guide in the description to this video, and that will help you plan out your next project. You can also find a link to our website, Bixley.com, where if you click that free app validation button at the top, you will get an hour free with Chris to talk about your next app idea. Until next time, this has been a Bixley Tech Tuesday.